That's unreasonable. I cannot do that. Are you sure? So what's the only strategy of getting to mastery, of getting to where you want to go? You must be unreasonable. If people, hey, he's playing guitar or she's playing guitar, he's practicing a lot and and it sounds really good, and you're never going to get to mastery with that behavior. You must be unreasonable. You must have people around you who say, yeah, you're practicing, you're overly focused on that. You can't stop talking about guitar. You're practicing all the time. It's a nuisance, right? It's irritating. You're sitting in the couch. I can't talk to you without you climpering away on this 6-string instrument, right? That's when you know that you're doing the right thing, right? So if you're not unreasonable, how will you ever get unreasonable results? Most people just get mediocre results, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, if you want to get to mastery and really have fun, just taking your guitar out, you got a track in the background, you're playing with the guys, and you're just ripping that solo. You're enjoying it, and it's just like, it's a dream, right? And that solo comes out and you're having so much fun improvising. If you want stuff like that, instead of struggling with the mechanics of soloing, you must be unreasonable. Here's why. When you break wood karate style, the whole secret to doing that is not to try and break the wood. It's to try and punch as hard as you can lower than the wood. So if the surface of the wood is here, you must aim for a point completely beyond that wood and then punch through, right? Because if you don't, the brain is just going to adjust your punching, your force, everything to the surface of the wood, and you're going to hurt your hand. And that's what 99% of people do. The ones who do not, and what does that mean in guitar practicing? Well, it means that you don't get the results you dream of. What do you then do after years of practicing? Well, you then conclude that you don't have the talent. You do have the talent. It's not lack of talent. It's lack of the right philosophy, which is be unreasonable, and lack of a methodology that actually works, right? So the unreasonableness is actually when people start giving you resistance on what you're doing. Up until then, you're just having a hobby, right? And you can be unreasonable with your hobby as well. So start thinking, also unreasonable with where you want to go. Most people say, oh, you're playing guitar. Yeah, I want to become as good as X, right? Keith Richards, if that's your great idol. Or I want to become as good as whomever, right? Aldi Meola back in the 80s, right, was the big name, all right? And say it, speak it. That's unreasonable. You're just as good as Aldi Meola. I want to become I don't know who your idols are, right? But say it and go for it. That's unreasonable, right? He was a genius or she was a genius, whatever it is, right? But that's not the fact. The fact is that what if you could become as good as that? That's the point. What if, let's say you have these years in front of you, what would have to happen, really? Try to be logical about it. Try to be reasonable about it. So, okay, how would that look? I got this job, got these kids, or I got this, husband, wife, whatever. This is my life. And if I were to achieve that in 5 years or 2 years or 1 year or 10 years, whatever, how would my life look then? How much would I practice? How much would I savor the moments with my instrument? How many guitars would I have? A lot more than I have now, that's for sure, right? How would my life look to make that absolutely, logically the given fact after these 5 years or these 2 years? How would my behavior have looked? And then you go do that behavior. That's unreasonable. I cannot do that. Are you sure? Can you get there in little steps, right? You take one step, towards the unreasonable, then another, then another, then another, and then people around you get used to your unreasonable behavior. They call you a nut, they call you a nerd, which is great, which is amazing, right? If nobody calls you a guitar nerd, not now, if nobody sees you and says, you're crazy, you're practicing way too much, that's completely out of this world, you should be, and you should, and you should, and you should. If people don't say that, then you'll never reach your guitar dreams, right? Because that means that you're in level with everyone else, and mediocre breeds mediocre. Reasonable breeds reasonable, right? Normal breeds normal. If you want outstanding guitar skills, you must have an outstanding way of behaving. Define that now. You know, drive your car. Think about it. If I was to go there, how would that look? Oh, and then that would happen, and then I would do this, and perhaps I would quit my job at some point, start teaching, so I can play guitar all the time, right? Perhaps I would, if the goal is big enough and unreasonable enough, then you will find ways in your mind. If you imagine that it's absolutely realistic, right? How would that look if that was realistic, right? And so you can start taking steps towards that, and that's the exciting part. That's the growth thing you want on this instrument that makes this a darn, miraculous adventure towards everything you want. And your practice sessions go from, I'm just, practicing because, I want to become better at guitar, right? To, right? And you're fired up all the time, right? Or most of the time. And, you might as well do it. It feels better now than to be reasonable and to be realistic and to be an adult, right? And I don't care how old or young you are, there's no limitations. Go for it. Being at the top game in the world is just a craft. It has nothing to do with talent. And there's a lot of people who's going to argue with me on that. And I can't argue against it. All I can say is, if you argue against it, you're not you will never be at the top. You won't. Because you're so busy explaining away how you cannot do it. How that guy over there, that amazing player, has enormous amounts of talent, right? Either you make an explanation of it, right? Or you do something about it. It doesn't, either you believe or you don't, right? If you don't believe, you're never going to get there. If you do believe, you're going to get closer, that's for sure, right? So with that said, give me your comments, also the negative ones. I do not get offended, right? So comment, please, and then go download the free course on alternate picking if you haven't already done so, and like the video and share to anyone who needs to hear this. And I'll see you in another one of these videos.